Friendly advice?
Nice,
Scope
but
it
be
down.
careful.
Hey,
I
this
seems
seems
like
like
you're
watch out for
scope.
scope. Feel like you guys
Why
something you try make a good game, or you can't do that.
So because in our last video, we got bullied into making our game good, we deleted our original project and spent the last year turning Spriggan from a development nightmare into an actually somewhat acceptable game. Let's get into what happened. We were happily living our lives after the release of the last video. At this point, we thought everything was fine. The video exceeded our expectations, thank you by the way, and we were about to meet with a veteran artist, Eddie. He had a bit of a reputation for being honest to a fault, but surely he wouldn't have anything bad to say about Spriggan. Eddie picked us apart. And he was right. We realized if we released Spriggan now, it would become another piece of zero-review trash in the ocean of Steam. So, we decided to completely restart. This time, with Eddie advising us, we would get things right. The first lesson he drilled into our skulls was to give more love to the game's most important character. You know, the actual goddamn world. So we started plotting a much more interesting game world, eventually landing on an island with a few distinct regions. So we planned out some special locations, and then we started actually executing on our plan. Creating a terrain which was 6 square kilometers, which is pretty big. Almost as big as your mom! Anyway, during this creation process, we made distinctive regions which have different vibes. We've got the meadows, which is the safest area. It's nice and open, has animals like deer, rabbits, and it's also where the player's castle will be. The highlands and mountains with its rocky terrain is the habitat for many goats and a couple wolf packs. There's also the remnants of an old mine here. The forest, filled with dense trees and bushes, is home to boar, bears, along with bear caves of course, and a blend of animals from other regions. And the dark forest, which you should never enter under any circumstances. After that, Eddie had us work on the second biggest character, the city. So we started the process, planning again and again and again and again, until finally we had a layout we thought would work really well. Then we started implementing our plan. We got a bunch of rocks and created these modular castle pieces to make it so we wouldn't have to model everything individually, but then we needed to place several thousand of them. Unfortunately, during this process, I'm pretty sure that Oimel went a little insane.
Rotate the rocks, scale the rocks, duplicate the rocks, more rocks.
I'm sure he'll bounce back. You may have noticed that up until now, the world is pretty empty. Kinda like my stomach. I'm gonna go get a snack. Much better. Anyway, to fix the empty world, I created a bunch of Gaia spawners for each biome of our island so that we could procedurally populate it instead of manually placing every tree and rock. It's actually really interesting how this works. The system starts with a white texture which represents having spawns everywhere, then different rules create different textures which are combined into one another using one of these mathematical equations, which leads to really interesting emergent results.
Shut up, nerd! Magic button!
Damn it, he always gets me with those. Anyway, now our world wasn't as ugly, but it was still pretty dead. So to fix that, we added a bunch of animals. Which animals, you ask? Rabbits, stag, doe, boar, bear, wolves, seagulls, sparrows, owls, crows, goats, pigs, sheep, whales, and turtles. And these animals aren't dead inside. They can roam, forage, and engage in complex behavior like hunting. For instance, here you can see a wolf sneaking up on a deer. The deer doesn't see it because the wolf has positioned itself in the deer's blind spot. The wolf did this because it can't just outrun a deer. It needs to get close so that it can get the kill before the deer reaches speed. Before we could continue improving our world, I had to speedrun bringing back all the functionality we had in the legacy version of the game. So as expected, that was really easy. It totally didn't take me 3 months, multiple aneurysms, and lower my life expectancy by about 10 years. But hey, at least now everything's working in the new project.
It's time to market the game, baby, but we're fucking broke. Guess we'll just have to send some emails. I'm sure we'll get at least a few replies. Damn, that didn't work at all. We needed a better way to get their attention. So we used an age-old tactic pioneered by the truly caring companies like EA.
Loot boxes.
Okay, jokes aside, we wanted the crates to represent the love and dedication we have for Spriggan. So we dipped into our savings and scrapped enough money from our minimum wage jobs for about €100 per crate. Then I found this website and bought 12 crates. Excited as a little jelly bean, they arrived in pristine condition.
Too pristine.
So I completely disassembled them and coated all the metal bits in this fucking walkram of a toxic solution that makes metal rest instantly. I then gave my wood a quick rub down with sandpaper to prep it for a coating of tinted beeswax, giving the crates this nice medieval vibe and organically protecting it from the elements. I then threw some dirt on it, hit it with a hammer, re-added all 350 screws and called it a day. And of course, we needed drinkable potions, because why the fuck not? So I leveraged a connection with a local company, met up with them a few times, and convinced them to help on the creation and production of these awesome custom drinks. The mana potion has a blueberry taste, and the health potion has a blood orange flavor. And the last drink is a delicious honey peach mead. All of them have over 15% alcohol and loads of sugar to ensure they're safe and tasty to drink. Of course, you couldn't just send a crate without a message. So I went and tried writing one. Let's see how that went. Turns out, I've got the filthy hands of an illiterate peasant, not able to write such a noble missive, so instead, I asked my brother's partner, who is substantially better handwriting than me, to help me out. And help me out, she fucking did. Okay, the crates were coming together, but surely it still wasn't enough to impress the likes of Jacksepticeye, IGP, No Way For You, Hand of Blood, or Grom, to name a few. So I learned 3D printing from scratch to make a figurine out of our main enemy, the Spriggan. In classical Ben and Mike fashion, we didn't just choose the cheap and easy to work with plastic filament, no. I used a wood-based filament because it's cool and artsy and fucking snaps all the time. Anyways, I redesigned this model at least a dozen times, and now he's looking kinda thick. Between each print taking 14 hours and them falling apart half the time and needing to hand paint each one, this step alone took me a couple of weeks. The magnum opus of the crates were high-quality beanie and hoodies, self-embroidered with the Insomnia logo and Spriggan insignia. We wanted our merch to be 100% recycled while ensuring fair trade and full carbon neutrality. This meant we paid 3 to 5 times more, but it was worth it, knowing that we weren't buying cheap garbage. It also left us with no money to buy an embroidery machine or commission a company, so I learned it from scratch. Out of all these items, this took me by far the most amount of time to learn, over half a year of meeting knowledgeable people, testing quality, buying materials, and eventually borrowing an old machine from one of my mom's friends for 10 days of intense embroidering and sewing. It was finally time to put these crates together and send them out, baby! You're probably wondering why we only send out 3 crates then. Basically, we got ghosted. I know, who could have seen that one coming? Small company, probably landed in junk mail, I don't know. But we need your help now. You can send this video to one of these 9 people and let them know this package even exists, or write us in the comments down below who you think might be interested in getting one of those packages instead. Oh, we need his help as well, look at baby. However, all 3 we did get a hold of were absolutely amazed. Nukrim even made sure that accepting these crates wasn't bound to some legal terms, and knowing 2 of my childhood heroes enjoyed unboxing something I made felt like giving something back for all these years of entertainment. Hand of Blood even accidentally opened his package on stream, leading to some interesting reactions.
Holy shit! Oh my god! What the fuck? Okay.
Apparently we're terrible at giving away free stuff via email, so instead we'll try the physical route at Gamescom this year. We'll be giving away one of these crates on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday each. You can meet us directly in the center of the Indie Hall 10.2, and all you need to do is be subscribed to our YouTube channel and have left a comment under any of our videos. Because, you know, as Grandma used to say, 1 crate a day keeps the depression away. Finally, it was time for us to get back at grinding away on the game. The first thing we did was fix the grass by transitioning to a much nicer model and better coloring for it. But before we could continue working on the world directly, Eddie suggested that we should spend more time ideating different playable and enemy characters. So we completely overhauled pretty much every enemy, who are now called Harmonomorphs. Creatures like the Terror were introduced to support the enemy forces as a tank. The old Spriggan got a redesign and is now called Silver. And we even created an entirely new enemy like the Fairies. We also cooked up playable characters like Heinrich von Gutenberg, Catalina, and Rocco the Mage, all of which are a lot better than the placeholder characters. And of course, who could forget that we collaborated with the Greek god himself, Dash Render, to create a realistic archery system and to get him in the game as a heavy warbow archer.
With that, our world started feeling like it had moved to another level. We had a complete slice of the environment, so it was time to get into the details. Performance at this point was a pretty big problem, especially at places like the so-called Bridge of Doom by our Discord, so we decided to leverage an asset which the company I work at, Procedural Worlds, just released. Normally it's pretty expensive, but I have access to the source, so Storm is pretty much a cheat code to get better performance in Unity. It took our frame rate from around 20 FPS to about 80. We also got to use another awesome feature of Storm besides the rendering acceleration, which completely overhauls the Unity terrain system to add some really sick features like displacement and object blending. After finishing the Storm integration, the world looked way better, and also our performance was where it needed to be. But before we could move on to other things, we just couldn't shake the feeling that something about the vibes of Spriggan was wrong. After a couple calls talking about it in depth, we figured out that everything was too happy. So we brought everything down a notch, desaturated our environment, jacked up the fog, and lowered the light levels. There's that feeling of suffocating danger. After that, I came to the horrifying realization that if I continued using the current networking solution, we could be saddled with a huge monthly cost on release. So I had to completely rewrite all our netcode to use Steam networking, which is free. Fortunately, I didn't have to start from scratch. I was able to use a library gloriously titled Another fucking Steamworks C# implementation from Mr. Gary Newman, who's one of the creators of Gary's Mod and Rust. Even with Gary's help, it still took a long time to go back through all my code and replace everything, but hey, it's not like I can get any more dead inside, right?
Hey, it's Future Mike. So about the video you're watching right now, let's just say we pulled a 1940s Japan and tried quietly forgetting it even existed. But we've been busy. Steph and I visited Ben and his family in Canada, we went to GDC, made our first Spriggan demo with Storm, revived our socials with Oimo, brought Oscar, Nix, and Jijin into the Insomnia family, built the archery system, wrote the inventory item management systems, we did melee animations, teamed up with Battle Merchant and get this incredible piece of armor. I mean, how the f did we convince him to send us a real piece of armor? Actually, I know it. Go to www.battlemerchant.com and just buy one yourself. We don't have an affiliate link. They were just kind enough to sponsor this for us because they thought it was a cool project. Plan tested the entire event, met our booth neighbors, the Byte Rockers, sold 20 out of 30 of our Gamescom slots, reached out to press, read through all the legal stuff, booked apartments, planned for Dash Renner to come to Gamescom with us, prepared our studio to scale up if we get some funding between. Check it out Patreon if you want to. So yeah, you can imagine why finishing this video took a while. So what are you guys doing? Go get tickets for Gamescom. And if you're an indie who'd like to join our booth this year at Gamescom, just write us an old-fashioned email at gamescom@insomnia-development.com or join our Discord. Smash like if you like, smash dislike if you don't. Remember to leave us a comment telling us how much we suck at making video games. I see you. Don't forget to wishlist Spriggan on Steam. And remember, roses are red, violets are blue, I'm gay, and so on.